Good morning, good afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world, welcome back to The Sampleist. My name's Greg. Today we're going to get lost in the evocative soundscapes of Clarinet Textures by Emergence Audio. Emergence Audio continues their series of amazing instruments with the arrival of Clarinet Textures. It's anchored in their infinite motion engine technology, which puts a ton of creativity at your fingertips, allowing you to build unique sonic landscapes from the traditional to the outlandish and everything in between. Clarinet Textures downloads at 1.92 gigabytes installed, and like all their products, it is compatible with the free Contact player and is fully NKS compatible. It comes with nearly 40 traditional but uniquely performed articulations, over 120 presets and 100 plus parameters to customize, including convolution reverbs, 10 onboard effects, a randomizer, and all sampled at 24-bit 48K to give you that pristine quality. At the time of shooting this video, Clarinet Textures is on intro offer for $64, but that can't last forever, so get in quick if Clarinet Textures appeals to your musical sensibilities. And while I'm really grateful to the Emergence Audio team for making a copy of Clarinet Textures available for review today, they haven't had any input into this video. The Sampleist prides itself on the independence of our reviews. And in this video, we'll explore some presets, we'll dig a little deeper into the instrument, and I'll walk you through a short piece I wrote using Clarinet Textures. And I'll finally round it all out with my final thoughts in closing. With that said, let's fire up the door and dive in headlong with Clarinet Textures. And here we have Clarinet Textures. Now, before I dive straight in and give you a bit of a listen to some presets, I thought I'd give you a very brief overview of the layout of the land. Over here in the left-hand panel, we have two tabs, Instruments and Multis. Instruments contain the actual Clarinet Textures instrument itself, which is the instance you can see here loaded up. And you also get a heap of multis. Now, for those who aren't familiar, multis is a feature of Contact that allows you to create very rich instruments with multiple instances, hence the name multi, that you can save. Emergence Audio has given you a number of these out of the box. So for our purposes, I'm going to start with just the init patch. So let me reset Contact here. Now, the reason why I'm going to start with init patch, I want you to take a listen to something. Now, bearing in mind that this is the init patch. Now, most synthesizers or instruments that do provide an init patch, typically it's a really raw bass sound, typically not very usable. It really is a starting point from which you can actually add and create your own colors. But this is just straight out of the box. That is a very usable patch. And what's also worth noting is that this is a textures-based instrument. It is not a faithful emulation of a detailed clarinet, which may include legatos and that very advanced type of scripting here. This is a textures-based instrument. So I think straight out of the box, this is a great start. But I think this is where Clarinet Textures really shines, is when we start playing with the multis. This one's called Nautical Night Sleep. That does not sound like a clarinet, does it? And I don't know about you, but Nautical Night Sleep, I kind of felt like when I first heard that imagine I was almost a kid and there was this giant monster under the bed. And that's what I got from that too. So what they're using here is a couple of features of Contact. For example, the first instance being detuned by 12 semitones or an octave. And the second one, he's been detuned to 2 octaves below. So really pushing those samples into the lower register. Really, really nice. Here's one called As It Once Was. Really ethereal, lovely textures. For those who are very perceptive, hopefully it came through on the recording, but I could almost detect what sounds like elements of human voices. I suspect it's just a valve on the actual clarinet itself, but again, there's a lot of nuance in here we can play with. Let's have a look at crystalline structures. One minute you're playing with a clarinet, the next minute you're out in deep space. I really, really like that sort of stuff too. Now here's the thing for me, what Clarinet Textures is all about. As you could probably tell just from initial playing of some of these patches, it's all about long-held, evolving textures and pads. This is where it really seems to shine. It's a lovely idea to sit here and just place your fingers on the keyboard and just see where it takes you. And if you're patient with it, it'll evolve and twist and turn, and it'll allow the sample to really play out and give you some really interesting colors and timbres. What about Into Oblivion? Awesome, a lot of little chirps in there, taking advantage of the LFO feature, the infinite motion engine part of Clarinet Textures, which we'll dive into a little bit more detail shortly. Maybe to round out this session, I'll have a listen to The Occurring. There you go. Some chirping, even atonal sounds for you. Okay, so what I'm also going to do now is let's load back up the knit patch, and I'll take you through some of the presets that come with the actual instance itself, the snapshots, if you will, because we're starting to build a bit of a catalog of features here. So we've had a look at the multis, but each instance itself actually has a Clarinet Textures set of snapshots, and each instance comes with a set of correlated, infinite pads, pulses, and swells. Again, let's have a quick taste of each. And remember, this is within each instance, so you can choose from any color of this set, maybe add another instance to create another layered multi. The sky's the limit when it comes here. Almost organ-like, again with a lovely long tail. Infinite pads, as the name suggests, you're going to get a lot of long tails here. Let's have a check out of Falling Infinite. A little bit of aleatory, and a bit of tension in there. Maybe a handful of pulses. As you can tell, some really opportune times to find some pulses, some distortions, some really interesting ideas. Let's have a quick look, listen to some swells. Swear that's a human voice in there somewhere. Could be wrong. I reckon that's a really nice way to round out the swells. That last one for me, I could almost get a sense of that type of sound being used in a very intimate moment in a scene of a video or a film where there's an intimacy between two characters, maybe a father and a son, father and daughter, sharing that intimate moment. Just you can hold the notes, and that's a really lovely sound. Again, you can tell it's woodwind, you can tell it's clarinet, but at the same time, it kind of deviates away from there to enough to be able to add some substance and depth to it. Really, really nice. Okay, great. Now that we've had a listen to some presets and some snapshots, I now want to give you an overview of the instrument itself, just the core features. Now, this is not going to be an in-depth tutorial. I refer you to Emergence Audio's own YouTube channel if you want that level of detail, but I'm just going to give you enough detail to be dangerous. Emergence Audio's instruments all share a common interface, and they feature two sound sources on each side, left and right, from which you can choose a sample set or a type of instrument or sound, from gross notes to vibratos, staccatos, even trills. And then you can also select and manipulate each sound source with the familiar ADSR controls: attack, decay, sustain, and release. There's a lovely link feature, which means if it's selected, you can adjust one of the parameters on each sound source, noticing that it's synchronized with the other sound source. But of course, if it's unselected, you can adjust them independently of each other. The big round knob in the middle is a crossfade, which allows you to crossfade between the two sound sources, left and right. There's a cutoff, a resonator, and a pan. And at the heart of what really glues all this together and brings it to life is the LFO. This is the heart of the infinite motion engine technology that Emergence Audio has developed. Now, for those not familiar, an LFO is a standing wave. It sets up a consistent waveform against which you can connect or link any one or more of the available parameters to that LFO. So let me give you an example. I've currently selected a sine wave. I'm going to choose to connect the crossfade and say the cutoff and maybe the panning. And as you'll notice, as I play, you'll see that those parameters that I've linked to the LFO will resonate with the LFO. Now we can increase the frequency of the LFO. Even adjust the depth. Or indeed change the actual waveform itself. We've got selected a sine wave at the moment, but it could be a triangular wave or a saw wave, a square wave, which will give it a lovely pinging sound as it bounces all over the place. There's even a random waveform, which, as the name suggests, bounces around all over the place in a random pattern. There's a random function. So selecting the random function, it will automatically produce random parameter settings. Ooh, lovely. What else can we get? Whoa, that's quite harsh. Like running through an old 19th century speaker. What else we got? So as you can see, lots of flexibility to produce really out of the world, otherworldly sounds, if that's your thing. Flicking over to the back panel, we have a series of effects available. There's a convolution reverb, which itself has something like 50 different impulse responses. There's a delay, a phaser, a rotator, chorus, width, plenty of opportunity to again add further depth and color to your sounds. So there you have it. There's the overview of what we have for the core features of the instrument. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to introduce you to a short composition I wrote using Clarinet Textures. On the other side of that, I'll give you a bit of a walkthrough of my thought process, and then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts. A simple track overall, only containing 4 tracks. All of it is exclusively Clarinet Textures. My thought process, I tend to write on the fly, and I like drones, and I think Clarinet Textures does that in spades because it allows the sound to evolve. So I stumbled upon this particular multi called Clarinet Introspection, and it gave me the chance to hold down a C drone, and then I just warbled an A minor and a G on top. And then I thought maybe that could do with some more glass-like high notes, if you will. So again, I stumbled upon this patch called Setting the Sun. And again, all I did was double exactly what I started with. I think I was an octave higher. You might notice, for example, in the second instance down here, the LFO is set to random, which has that jittery random nature, which gives it that nice glass-like pulsing sound to it, which I quite liked. So things started to evolve and thought now it's time to introduce a bass. So one of the multis I think we looked at earlier in today's video was A Nautical Night's Sleep, and it has a lovely, big, long, deep drone. So that seemed to be a great candidate to give us a drone. Nothing more than holding down the C drone to provide the support in the bass line. Really lovely deep resonance stuff. So let's just quickly play those three tracks together. And I really like how it starts to really anchor it all together. So upon revisit, then I thought it was time to maybe add a little bit of a melody line. So this is where I took a little bit of a chance. Bearing in mind that Clarinet Textures is indeed a textural-based instrument, I started looking for something that was more able to hold a little bit of a melody. Now, you might recall at the very start of our video today, I had a look at the init patch. And I said that the init patch was actually really good out of the box because it had quite a strong, lovely, natural clarinet sound. So I've actually used something similar, pure vibrato, which is very straight up. And I've used that to anchor in a little bit of a melody to hold it all together. And that track, if I just solo it, quite simple on its own, just sounds like this. So that was quite nice, I thought, to really bring it all together. And then I let it evolve. The only thing really of musical note, I suppose I'll point out from an orchestration point of view is, got to the end of the first phrase and I thought, it's time for a key change. So I simply changed it up, and you'll hear the key change coming shortly, where I just went from a C major to a C minor. Have a listen, tell me what you think. And here comes the key change. So that last section with the key change, I probably sucked that out of the Bach universe, probably something from when I was a kid practicing my classical guitar, I imagine. Quite a well-known sort of classical cadence, but it seemed to come together quite well. I hope you agree. Okay, so let's wrap things up. My final thoughts on Clarinet Textures. This is a very versatile instrument that stretches a traditional clarinet into new worlds using Emergence Audio's infinite motion technology. It's part traditional clarinet, part synthesizer. It preserves the natural textural beauty of the clarinet but gives you a mountain of tools to contort and manipulate the clarinet samples into otherworldly sounds where the possibilities are literally limited only by your imagination. The set of snapshots and multi-presets means you can be productive right away. And with the set of features available, it means you have at your fingertips a deep and extensive musical instrument. It's obvious the amount of effort that the Emergence Audio team have put into this series of instruments, and at the end of the day, dropping the very reasonable $64 while it's on intro discount is money well spent. It will be going to $99 after the intro price expires, so be quick. I really like this instrument and it's likely to be a key part of my musical arsenal going forward. All that leaves me to say is thank you for stopping by and checking out Clarinet Textures with me. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways you can help the channel because it will help others discover our work. Be sure to check out our other videos on the channel. Our content is growing really rapidly and you can be assured that the Sampleist is at the cutting edge of the latest virtual instruments. Be sure to subscribe and check out our site at thesampleist.com. Links are in the description. Until then, this is Greg from The Sampleist, urging you to find your sounds, find your soul. See you on the next one.